Hey, Suge, thank you for calling back.
Hey, I'd like to say this too real quick. You got a woman that works for you is really incredible.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug. People that follow me understand it's from my mouth to God's ear. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's from my mouth to God's ear.
What made Diddy, one of Hollywood's smoothest personalities, snap in the courtroom? And how did Suge Knight's unexpected statement leave everyone speechless and Diddy visibly shaken?
I'd like to say this too real quick. You got a woman that works for you is really incredible. You don't find too many people.
I thought you were about to implicate her in the investigation. I'm just glad you're not implicating Dusty in the investigation, Suge, because I can't take that.
No, she's not in the investigation.
All right,
but what
good.
I want to do for her is, I want to. Hey, look, hey, I got to do this for her, but I want to turn her on to this clothing line called Girls Mondays to Sunday. Girl Monday to Sunday, and I'm definitely gonna look out for her because I buy a lot of people from that place. But look, what I was basically trying to say is this: I respect your show and respect what you're doing, but the most important thing is it's got to be a solution, because this has been going on in the industry for a whole bunch of years, for decades.
Cassie tells the story how D-Rock and Puff put on this all black stuff and took the guns out because they saw that Suge Knight may not have had or heard somebody, because that's how they do. You know, your man them is on the street, they out there, and they'll give a phone call. Yo, the nigga Suge is right here, man. Seem like the nigga probably be by himself or whatever like that. You know, because some of us big dogs, we run by ourselves.
The courtroom was crowded. Reporters, photographers, and bystanders crammed themselves into every available space. The tension-filled atmosphere in the room made every sound seem more intense. Heads turned when Diddy arrived because he was a well-known figure in the music. Business, well-dressed, and exuded confidence. He sat down straight-backed, calm, and collected after nodding to his attorneys. He seemed unfazed for a while, but as the trial progressed, his accustomed bluster started to crumble. And when it did, it broke. Diddy initially sat silently and listened closely, hardly responding to the legalese that was being thrown back and forth. The cameras, which were recording everything he did, noticed faint indications of distress. Here and there, his jaw tensed. His gaze strayed to the gallery, where Cassie sat composed and attentive, but nothing drastically changed until her legal team started giving testimony. Her words appeared to cut through the room as she delivered them with quiet resolve. Allegations, facts, and other details combined to create a picture that obviously unsettled Diddy in a way that no one had ever seen before. His attitude changed. He's lost the serene exterior for which he is so well known. He rubbed his hands together while leaning forward in his chair. His face clouded. Diddy's calmness completely collapsed at a particularly damning account of what happened. He shook his head, practically cursing under his breath, and they exchanged urgent whispers. With his attorneys, he later appeared obviously uncomfortable, according to witnesses. And one reporter said he appeared to be barely keeping it together. It's crucial to keep in mind that Diddy has spent decades fostering the persona of being composed under duress. He was always regarded as someone who never allowed emotions to control him, whether it was because of the notorious East Coast West Coast hip-hop rivalry, or his ruthless reputation in the business sector. That's why it was so startling to see him fall apart in front of the courtroom. The world didn't believe it knew this Diddy. Despite neither yelling nor banging his hands, his body language was very clear. He once, seemingly willingly, rubbed his temples with both hands. Removing the increasing pressure, lawyers and psychologists frequently observe that high-stakes situations may break even the most disciplined people, and courtroom meltdowns are not unheard of, particularly in emotionally charged instances like this one. Even yet, this degree of anger was startling for someone like Diddy, who had been under public scrutiny for decades. It raises the question of what specifically triggered him in such a dramatic manner. When Cassie's legal team presented an unexpected piece of evidence, the answer became evident. Few people anticipated that, and the tension in the room increased dramatically. Diddy, who had earlier attempted to maintain his attention, froze. His look changed from one of annoyance to one of disbelief. Whatever was on display obviously touched a nerve, and the courtroom saw a glimpse of a man who had lost control in that moment. But here's the twist. Diddy's dramatic outburst wasn't even the day's biggest story. Shortly afterwards, Suge Knight entered the chamber, causing the true shock. His arrival instantly altered the tone, and the events that followed added a new level of drama to the case. Why was Suge supporting Cassie of all people? What did he say? And more significantly, what did he know about Diddy that would have caused him to appear at this crucial juncture?
You said early on, you can't just look at Diddy in isolation. You said this was done to him. He learned from others, and it was done to him, and then he did to others. To me, that sounds like what I hear when people are talking about abusive situations, hurt people, that someone was sexually abused, they wind up being a perpetrator. Is that what you're suggesting about Sean Combs, that he was sexually abused and he now sexually abuses?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think he repeat what was done to him. And like I said, if you look at Russell Simmons, you know the truth. Andre Rail, you know the truth. Pride Davis, you know the truth. Jimmy Iovine, you know the truth. So there's not certain things that all of a sudden you got this. The industry is a quick business. It's been like that for a long time. And the casting couch is real, but it's for women and men. But far from all that, I think the most important thing is I feel like they should let Puffy tell his truth. I'm quite sure he's going to expose a lot of people. I'm sure he's going to move forward with it. But I don't think it should be a situation like the Epstein thing where they found him hanging from the ceiling or dead before the truth come out.
Do you believe
I think
that
the truth needs to be...
Not only did Suge Knight arrive utterly unexpectedly, but he did so with a presence that only Suge Knight can command, adding to the already high level of tension in the courtroom. It felt as though the air had been drawn out of the room when he made his entry. Suge has been larger than life for decades, both inside and outside of the music business. He became known as one of the most violent and controversial people in the industry as the creator of Death Row Records, helping to define the West Coast hip-hop sound. Not to mention that his relationship with Diddy is as tumultuous as it gets. Suge and Diddy were on opposing sides of the hip-hop battle between the East and West Coasts in the 1990s, a conflict that not only pitted their record labels' crews and performers against one another, but also reached lethal proportions. Diddy, however, stood for Bad Boy Records' polished, party-ready sound. Death Row's raw, unadulterated energy was personified by Suge. There were hidden threats, public taunting, and allegations of covert sabotage. It's difficult to see these two ever agreeing on anything, even after decades of intense antagonism. The entire gallery was therefore taken aback when Suge entered the courtroom and seemed to be siding with Cassie. Reporters muttered. Spectators' necks craned. To obtain a better view, his presence briefly appeared to take Cassie's legal team by surprise. Suge wasn't merely there to watch. He arrived ready to make an impression. Wearing a dark suit, he moved with the composed assurance of someone who had witnessed everything. The trial's tone was instantly changed by Suge's quiet authority. His expression was solemn as he sat down, looked across the room, and met Diddy's gaze. Even though it was slight, everyone watching felt shivers because they knew something significant was going to happen. The history of hostility between Suge and Diddy isn't the only thing that makes his backing for Cassie so unexpected. Suge seldom ever inserts himself into well-known situations unless he has a valid reason, which is typically a personal one. Therefore, many people think that Suge's continued animosity for his former competitor is the main reason he would attend this trial after years of remaining silent on anything pertaining to Diddy. Others think that it might be a premeditated attempt to bring his legacy and himself back into the spotlight. Regardless of his reasons, Suge's choice to openly support Cassie says a lot and was an unexpected gesture. The room fell hushed as Suge finally got up to speak. There was a calm, purposeful tone instead of frantic energy or extravagant gestures. He spoke as soon as he entered the courtroom, discussed the value of accountability, and alluded to having more knowledge of Diddy's prior actions than most people are aware of. Suge appeared to be pleading with the court and the public to take into account the larger picture of what he called industry skeletons without mentioning names or going into specifics. Although he spoke calmly, his remarks had a certain weight that made everyone question what he knew and why he felt the need to intervene. The question that was bothering everyone was straightforward. Was this an attempt at retaliation, or did Suge actually think that in Cassie's situation, his long-standing conflict with Diddy surely lends itself to the notion of a vendetta? His tone seemed to indicate otherwise. Perhaps, although this was private, he might have knowledge that could help Cassie win. Suge's presence, if nothing else, clarifies that the trial is about revealing deeper truths rather than just the legal dispute. However, Suge didn't end there. He made a remark that suddenly lit up the gathering just as it appeared that his statement may conclude on a hazy note. It was a shocking charge that was clearly related to Diddy's background and wasn't merely a defense of Cassie. At that point, everything really started to fall apart.
I'm in prison right now. I had a great run. So I don't go to sleep mad. I don't wake up mad. I've been locked up for 10 years, and I ain't had a bad day yet. And it's a lot of things we can do to help each other, and it's never too late for help. God blessed us to have a voice. Let's use our voice. I had told Puffy a while back. I told T.D. Jakes a while back. Come on, collect calls. We can politic. Because one thing for certain, one thing for sure, you're just not going to walk away with one scratch on it.
Do you think that Diddy?
He can do so.
Do you think Diddy knows enough that it's a very delicate balance, that maybe investigators will want to know these other names and greatly reduce his exposure to criminality, to time, versus what people would do to keep him quiet?
Number one, I've been knowing him a long time, and we was friends. We're not enemies, but we were friends. He's not a dummy, so he's smart enough to work his magic. On top of that, this man right here, he been involved with the FBI for most of his career. It's not like he don't have no moves. So I don't think nobody should just count him out. I don't think he gonna lay down and just crawl in the corner and die. He probably going through a lot of shit right now because he probably going through a lot of withdrawals for the drugs. But the industry got him on drugs. And see, they do these things to take control. They're not doing, there's nothing wrong with being gay. If you choose to be gay, that's your preference. But they doing this to people for control. It's a power situation.
Suge.
And they've been having the power of the, yes.
I appreciate your perspective on this. And I just want to get something very clear, because if what you're saying is true, and I'm not questioning your credibility, I can't assess it. I don't know. So
right.
Then he's got people who are the biggest names in the business who helped him.
I ain't trying to cut you off, but if any of those people I mentioned don't have no drinks and don't do no powder with them, you'll find out. I don't want you to be right.
When Suge Knight gently got up from his chair to make his remark, the entire room was silent. By then, everyone was on edge due to his shocking decision to back Cassie, but what he was going to drop was unexpected. With his palm gone, Diddy, who had been clearly nervous since Suge arrived, leaned forward and rested his elbows on the table. His eyes were fixed on the man who had been his long-standing competitor, and his jaw was clenched. It was obvious that Suge knew what he was going to say wouldn't be. Suge began by purposefully speaking in a low voice that was nevertheless authoritative enough to cut down on the gallery's hushed murmuring. He didn't waste time making small talk. He asserted instead that Diddy's record in the business wasn't as spotless as he wanted everyone to think. Suge claims that some events occurred behind closed-door topics that most people wouldn't dare discuss, and then he accused Diddy of planning grave wrongdoing to safeguard his empire with the kind of bluntness that only Suge could carry off. Everyone in the courtroom held their breath. Suge implied that Diddy's ascent to prominence was based on something far deeper than skill and financial savvy. He explained manipulation techniques and hinted that other people will eventually come forward with accounts. Nobody moved for a while. Because the charges were both serious and ambiguous, there was ample opportunity for conjecture to flourish. Suge mentioned a history of intimidation that resembled whisper campaigns that had been going around in the industry for years, but she did not specifically specify any events. He picked this particular time during a trial that focused on Cassie's. Explosive. It was impossible to overlook the accusations made to support this information. Suge's authoritative delivery of his assertion was more important than the timing. He seemed like a man who knew what he was talking about and wasn't speculating. Suge Knight isn't exactly the most trustworthy voice, to be fair. He has a history of run-ins with the law, contentious allegations, and a penchant for stirring things up when it suits him. He has leveled numerous outrageous charges against Diddy and others over the years, many of which have been rejected as being either fabricated or exaggerated. However, something was different this time. It was more than just an assault on an old foe. It stuck in people's thoughts because it was precisely calibrated to fit the storyline Cassie's team had been developing. Then there was complete mayhem. Diddy hesitated for a second, looked at Suge with a look that was difficult to read, a mix of shock and incredulity. Diddy did. He shook his head before leaning toward his legal team and speaking angrily. His attorneys immediately jumped into action, objecting to parts of Suge's speech, arguing it was extraneous to the matter at hand. He wasn't yelling. Not just yet. But by the second, you could see that his poise was faltering. Diddy became more passionate as Suge spoke, his gestures becoming more erratic and harsh. He also made a contemptuous motion towards Suge at one point, which his attorneys promptly told him to cease. The occasion was too much for the media to handle. Headlines containing the following phrases were already trending by the next court recess. Suge Knight accuses Diddy of industry cover-ups, and as Suge makes charges, Diddy becomes agitated. The public's response was divided. Others quickly pointed out how Suge's remarks supported the accusations Cassie and others had made against Diddy, while others regarded him as a weary provocateur who was rehashing old conflicts to be relevant. Discussions over whether this remark could be the first of many people coming out with their own accusations broke out on social media. Suge's remarks obviously touched a nerve, and not only with Diddy. Nobody can say how much of an impact the statement had on the jury, but once Suge dropped his charges, the atmosphere in the room changed significantly. The gravity of the situation was palpable. As though Suge's comments had given them a miraculous gift, Cassie's legal team appeared empowered. Additionally, while Diddy's legal team hurried to change the story, the indisputable fact was that the tone of the trial had just abruptly changed. Suge's precise statements were straightforward but incisive. This man has maintained the illusion for years, but ultimately everyone will see the truth. The courtroom erupted at that point, and Diddy's face flushed and his restraint vanished. He slammed his hands on the table and mumbled so loudly that security was reportedly alerted. Suge had taken the case of Cassie to a new level, plunging right into the center of Diddy's meticulously curated legacy.
I don't care who you are. Prison and jail is a negative environment. If somebody can do something to them and get a name for themselves, they're going to actually do it. Or if they can do whatever they feel they got to do to prove themselves. But we also got to learn. We got to learn from our mistakes. Everything don't have to be a mistake. You got to better yourself. But we all know what we signed up for in life. So if I signed up to be a football player, I knew I'm going to get hit and I'm going to hurt some other too. I signed up to be in the music business and the entertainment business. If you fight for right and being a black man, there's certain things you got to look at for the challenges.
You understand? But you got to keep your head on the swivel and keep that thing on you at all times. Because if it got to go down, it should go down in a kamikaze fashion. So Suge Knight, they get a call, yo, Suge look like he by himself. Y'all could probably get there. See now, I know it's got to be the drugs with Puff.
Cassie maintained her composure during the trial. Observers noticed her hard yet quiet posture, as if she were trying not to allow the drama around her shake her. She sat at her table and kept her focus straight, barely reacting to the chaos that was happening around her. Cassie remained steady and almost distant in her approach, while Diddy shifted and his poise faltered. Her calm was remarkable for someone at the heart of such a high-profile issue. However, something changed when Suge Knight entered the courtroom, and her composure appeared to be more about strategy than silence. When Suge got up to deliver his remarks, naturally, Cassie caught everyone's attention. Her response, or lack thereof, was compelling. Was this ally unexpected for her as well? Or was it all part of a bigger plan? She maintained her composure, and her countenance unaltered while whispers echoed through the gallery. She didn't appear shocked or move in any way that would indicate she was taken by surprise. She seems to have fully expected the moment, if anything. She conveyed volumes with the way she sat back and remained almost still. Even as Suge's revelations filled the courtroom, she seemed to be trying to convey confidence. Suge's assertion held a great deal of weight. However, the fact that it changed the dynamics of the courtroom in Cassie's favor was one of the biggest effects. Trials are as much about appearances as they are about the evidence, and Cassie's charges against Diddy suddenly had more legitimacy with a well-known person like Suge Knight supporting her. People like Suge, who is usually renowned for his own scandals, don't say things like, "This person's story matters." There was something about that moment that made her case seem more serious than it otherwise was. What could being disregarded as a he claimed she turned the scenario into something far more significant. Suge's encouragement undoubtedly seemed to fuel Cassie's legal team. His remarks provided them with a way to look beyond Cassie's personal experiences and into a longer history of industrial behavior. He had essentially given Cassie Suge's lawyers a gift by siding with her. They could now use his appearance to argue that their client's accusations weren't unique, but rather were a part of a trend that others could recognize, even dread. And the extra strain was evident for Diddy, who was already having trouble keeping his cool. The instant when Suge entered, you could see the worry on Diddy's face, and Cassie didn't bat an eye. Outside the courtroom, Suge's surprise move shocked the entertainment industry. Responses from the public ranged from skepticism to support, both. Celebrities and followers left comments on social media. Many commended Cassie for persevering through such a trying period, which is now supported by Suge's well-known support. Others questioned whether Suge was taking advantage of the situation to rekindle past animosities with Diddy. But one thing was agreed upon regardless of how people interpreted Suge's intentions. His backing for as a gamecher, Cassie furthermore, strong endorsements alter narratives. Let's face it, people are forced to pay more attention when leaders like Suge Knight take over. Those who had previously doubted Cassie's account were now re-evaluating whether someone with Suge's background, someone who had previously shown no allegiance to her, was prepared to come forward. The additional pressure meant that Cassie's already powerful voice would have even more weight going forward, leaving people to wonder what else would surface. Was Suge only the tip of the iceberg of something much bigger? Suge's participation carries some danger. His scandalous past will probably be used against him by Diddy's staff. They could cast doubt on his trustworthiness by portraying this as a PR gimmick rather than sincere support for Cassie. But here's the thing, regardless of how Suge is perceived, his choice to come forward changed the focus of this trial from whether or not Cassie's allegations were true to who else might be, coming up to address Diddy's alleged misdeeds. Cassie maintained her composure throughout it all. She didn't behave out of character, didn't display victory, and didn't give Diddy or his team anything to cling to. Her poise suggested that the balance of power in the courtroom had shifted in her favor. Suge Knight successfully changed the course of events, giving the trial a new lease on life. And Diddy had to scramble to recover control after this change. Nobody knows what will happen next, but one thing is certain, the power dynamic has shifted, and Cassie's constant presence is only making it worse.
Do you believe that Diddy is in danger in prison, and do you have advice for him based on what you just said?
Well, the first advice I have, I don't ever want to say he's in danger, and neither should he say that. Because once he gets to the point where they feel he's going to be suicidal to himself, harmful to himself, once they put him on suicide watch, you have the rights to nothing. No socks, no drawers, no T-shirt, no blanket, no sheets. You so naked in a cell as a crazy man. So he definitely don't want to do that. And the other advice I would tell him, maybe he should get on the Jewish diet.
Because Puff may have sent somebody, Puff might tell somebody, but for him to put on all black himself and go to do something like that, cocaine is a hell of a drug. Y'all ain't hear what I'm saying. The Puff that I knew would tell Wolf to do something, would tell Riz to do something, had them tell Paul to tell Tottenham to do something.
Diddy built a reputation as one of hip-hop's biggest moguls for years. He was a smooth operator who built an empire out of Bad Boy Records, started untouchable artists, and repeatedly remade himself as a businessman, producer, and cultural influencer. His reputation was one of tenacity, success, and power, spanning from legendary songs to billion-dollar fashion and liquor business endeavors. He was a brand as well as a musician. However, that meticulously built legacy is now perilously close to collapse. The courtroom atmosphere, the on-camera collapse, and Suge Knight's shocking charges. This trial is making us reevaluate everything we believed we was aware of. Diddy courtroom drama is one thing, but the stakes are significantly raised when someone like Suge Knight enters the fray. For Diddy, perception, trust, and the basis of his public reputation are more important than the legal charges Cassie has made. Diddy developed a reputation for calm, collected leadership, and composure under duress throughout the years. This trial runs the potential of reversing that narrative, particularly his overt response to Suge's charges. Not only are people questioning his recent behavior, but they are also taking a new look at his whole career. And let's be honest, we've seen what occurs when public personalities encounter this type of dilemma. Think about Harvey Weinstein or Bill Cosby. Once highly esteemed in their fields, they are now permanently associated with accusations and scandals. And their downfall affected more than just their close friends and family. It affected their businesses, their legacies, and the media that formerly praised them. It's difficult to overlook the similarities. Could Diddy be the next? Nobody is claiming that his career aligns with their personal circumstances, but Suge's accusations and this public breakdown mark a significant turning point. Social media is already beginning to change public opinion. Longtime admirers are arguing about whether Diddy's purported actions, as suggested by Suge's clues and Cassie's charges, are consistent with the guy. They admired others who are beginning to remove themselves, calling this trial a wake-up call for the industry, while others defend him, saying that being famous always makes you a target. The response has been uneven, even among celebrities. A few well-known figures made ambiguous remarks regarding industry openness and accountability, but none specifically named Diddy. Before picking sides, it seems like people are waiting to see which way the wind is blowing. Then there is the publicity. Diddy has been brutally portrayed in headlines as a man who crumbles under duress. Real-time analysis has been done on every difficult moment in the courtroom. His whispered words and body language talks with his attorneys. Furthermore, the story has only gotten more intricate after Suge Knight left the stage. Reporters are covering more than just Cassie's case. It's no longer just a trial. They're revealing Diddy's past by reopening old rumors and unearthing previously unreported industrial contacts. An analysis of Diddy's legacy is presented. It's almost tough to regain control of the plot after you've lost it. This is where things go in a different direction. Diddy is not the only one at risk from Suge Knight's stunning charges. Additionally, they've created opportunities for dialogue that previously didn't exist. Could Suge's remarks ignite inquiries into Diddy's previous activities? Suge implied that Diddy has been in the center of these kinds of allegations before, and this is probably not the first time. This trial could become much more significant than anyone anticipated if additional people come forward. Suge's public position alone is enough to draw attention and compel the business to take a closer look, even if his reliability is questionable. What follows? Did he decide to settle amicably or engage in a public altercation? Naturally, settling could make supporters question whether he's concealing something. Diddy will be in the spotlight longer after fighting, attracting more attention. In any case, the harm might already be done. This trial is tugging at the strands of his meticulously constructed persona, and what's coming loose isn't attractive. After everything is said and done, Diddy's courtroom tantrum, Cassie's consistent. Presence and Suge Knight's involvement may determine how the public views him. This is about the revelation of the truth and whether a man who was once untouchable can withstand his own disintegration. It's not only about contracts, accusations, or rivalries. With so much on the line, nobody is leaving this trial without facing repercussions. There is more to this trial than courtroom drama. The fight to redefine reputations has become fierce. Now that Cassie has made these allegations and Suge Knight has been shockingly involved, Diddy's formerly untouchable legacy is being scrutinized, provoking inquiries regarding the inner workings of his kingdom. For all parties concerned, the stakes could not be higher. One question remains as further mysteries are revealed. Please share your thoughts in the comments below about what else might be disclosed and how it will alter what we believed to be true. Remember that this is only the beginning. Stay tuned as Hollywood's foundations continue to be shaken by this famous drama.